Good afternoon, everybody. It's me, Corbin. Me and the Bozo are going to do some stuff, and we welcome you to take part and to sing along. Just follow the bouncing ball. Anyways, hey, buddy. Good job, Corbin. He's purring. He's a happy boy. Okay, so, hello. How'd you get here? Anyways, I've got a couple things I want to try today. And with said couple things, I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I've just scanned. So we're going to talk about a couple of ideas. All right. When I'm sitting around, one of the things that I often do is that I doodle. And in the course of said doodling, I'm constantly drawing images on small scraps of paper and drawing finished pages and just whatever ideas hit me. This is how that even while I was away from streaming on a regular basis, I was getting things done throughout that period of time, whether drawings in sketchbooks or drawings on random scraps of paper, like I've said. I'm going to switch cameras for a second and show you. I got a pile here, and this is all of the stuff that I've just scanned. So bear with me. Here we go. What? So these are tests where just using different inks and acrylics and whatever else comes to mind, I'm making star fields. And the reason that I do these is in order that I can scan them. And if I'm doing, say, a story where there's a night sky or outer space or whatever like that, I've got preset, pre-ready imagery to utilize. And so that's what a lot of this is. And so you'll see I'm using different tools to try to make up different things. How you doing, Salty? And so with that, it leaves me enabled to take these and to put them in the story. So that's one thing that's in my pile. Now, there's a bunch of pages out of the sketchbook that I'm almost finished, this current one. And so I've scanned a bunch of those, and I'll show you those in a moment. But then there's also things like, hey, Chris, welcome aboard. There's just random, this is an acrylic marker drawing on a piece of orange printer paper. So this is just a doodle. I can't remember what context it was, when and where, but that's what I did. I'll also do tests, like so. And this is on a brown 5x7, or I think it is, maybe 9. It's 6x9 piece of cardstock. And so this is just faces, just drawing faces in white on a dark surface. And here's, again, using different mark making tools and inks and things like that. So that's just playing around again, even if you're not doing something specific, it's important to just keep, the muscles moving, the muscle memory, keeping at it. So this is some sketches that I did for a series of paintings. And, when you got these let there be light moment, the big let there be light moment, there we go. There's a conception of that idea with pencil. Hiya, Liz. How's that noggin of yours? I hope you're feeling better. Thanks so much, Liz. I appreciate that. I'm getting better more and more every day. It's the tricky part now is to try to get my leg strong enough for not having to use the old stick. So this is another one of those sketches. And so these are just drawn with a red pencil. This is separating waters from waters. And, and everybody knows that crazy kid. And again, these are drawn to be finished as larger paintings. And so this one here is, this is the land from the sea. What, Corbin? He's howling over there. Okay, so this is, another one of those sketches for those series of paintings. So this is a bunch of stuff I've scanned. Now that last drawing that I showed is behind me. I'll switch cameras again for a sec. Sorry. I hope this isn't shocking on everybody every time I do this. That's the painting. And so you see the initial sketch, and then I redraw it onto the canvas or board or whatever surface it is that I'm working on. And there's the finished thing. Excuse me a second. I have to go. Ow, jeez Louise. Just be 1 second here. What are you doing? What are you doing? No, you can't go in there. Okay, forget him. Okay. Oh. So, anyways, Corbin just wants to go in a closet for whatever reason. I don't know. And then there's, so I'll switch back again. I'll show you these last few things. So this is another doodle here, and I just drawing to drawing. And these are, I had a notion that I was going to pick subject matter out of my sketchbook and just start creating pages and stories with them. And so this is one of many of those that I did over the last year that I'll be putting up on social media on weekends and things like that, and trying to catch up. So this is what that is. And milk, brain, bones, guy with a bubble on his head. I don't know. Cat wants attention. Meow, Corbin. Chris says meow, buddy. This is another sketch. This is acrylic on gray cardstock, and with the pencil marks in here. This is just a sketch, again, for a couple of larger paintings that are trying to 1.5 by 3 feet, I think. And so this was the initial idea of that. So that's, I showed that earlier, like I showed that before. And then this large image here is, again, on cardstock. And it's just, again, one of those drawings where taking things out of my sketchbooks and trying to figure out how to tell some sort of story with it. So the idea was panel, 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 big image across the bottom. So, so I'll show you something. Now I'm going to switch to I'm going to share my screen. How do I do that again? No, that's not it. Trying to think of how I go about sharing a screen. I remember how to, oh, this is it? Yeah, I got it. Okay, so here's where we are. So this is, just want to check something. Is that, I'll have to shake that up in a second too. Let's see how that goes. Okay, well, here we are. So this is a bunch of these things that I just scanned. And you'll notice that some of the images are upside down because it's just however I stick it in the machine. And that's fine. But scanning all of these random images that I showed you, you can see there's the orange picture there. These 1, 2, and 3 scans, there's how many scans it takes me to put an 11 by 17 page into the computer. I have to scan it 3 parts, and that's only because of the size of my scanner. There are larger scanners that one can get that can scan this entire page size in one go. I have an overhead one that takes a picture of a larger image, but the quality of it isn't as much as I would like it to be. But it's more like taking photographs than it is scanning, really. So I can take these images and I can flip them over to Photoshop and then start to utilize those. Like this is yesterday's drawing that I did during the stream. This is the painting from the night before, and I got rid of a little. I don't keep everything I scan on my computer because it just massive amounts of information. But what I've got up above this is all of another stack of all this other stack of images, like so, that are just random marker drawings that I do while, sitting there watching the boob tube. And fingered, number one, and shared. Cool, thank you. So I've got all of these images that I've scanned, and again, to utilize for pages. What you see here with the people in the dance poses is I'm drawing a dance number on a comic I'm working on. So there's pages that are a dance number, and I can show you those. This is interesting background image, just patterning and imaging. Another page. This is just a painting of fish because I'm a weirdo, and that I used for a page. And one page extravaganza number one. It might be the first page. I just, for whatever reason, I've kept that on my computer. I don't keep all these images on there, but for some reason I've kept fish. I'm an interesting guy. I think it's because I was going to use it for my my fake sponsor. What is it? Bob's Fish and Chips. Are you calling for the perch, or you're just calling for the halibut? Anyways, so I was going to do things with the fish for that, I think is what it is. So, all right. Anyhow, so this is what I do this for. And so if I take, well, let's say this one, okay, because it's pretty straightforward. We'll take a couple here, but I'm going to remove my screen here for a second, and we're going to pull up Photoshop, and then just a second. I'm trying to figure out. There we go. And then now it's a whole dance around here to get. There we are. So here's the next thing. So now I've got Photoshop up. It's tricky figuring all this out. And so there's, like I said, there's the scan for yesterday's drawing that we did during the stream. I've just reformatted this is the actual scan page, and then I've reformatted them a little bit, took the basic color of the drawing, unlocked it so that I could make it just line art and put color underneath it. And that's how I did this, the halftone in behind with a brush, and erasing out some values and diminishing some values so you could see some detail. So that's how I went about doing that page, is by taking the scan and making, actually I like this color better and I wish I'd done this color, and doing this with it. The nice thing about using a marker like this is that it gives you a broader range of values, and for whatever reason it just picked up this one value, and there we went. And then the Tabby Mathers page I posted today. This is from the painted image that we did Wednesday night. So if I open up, and you can see there's a whole bunch of blue pages and half-colored pages that I still have yet to publish stories on and finish stories on, just because of the amount of stuff that I do. That I've done nothing with for the longest time. But we're back, and we're doing it now. We're doing it, folks. I'm going to open a couple things, right? I'll open 3 different examples, all right? And then we'll go from there. So this is the Let There Be Light. This is the collage of images that I'd chosen out of my sketchbook. And this is the birds. So if I take the image of the birds, if this isn't interesting to anybody, I can just draw whatever random page today. But I just thought, I don't know that I necessarily walked through this with people before. And maybe somebody could utilize this for whatever it is that they're doing. So It's not anything brand new in rocket science. Yeah, I just can't think of anybody, being this much, disclosing this much. So we'll start with this, okay? So I'm going to copy the scanned image, okay? And then I'm going to put it onto this open blank page that I have, which is looking at Chris, or looking at this, I need to organize my files as well. I'm a surprisingly organized person. I got a system. Yeah, every person that thinks that they've got the organization says they have a system. So I'm going to scale this to fit a little bit better to the size that we want our image to be. And sometimes when these drawings are too short, we have to, adjust, do a little bit of adjusting with them, and that's fine. So there's our image. I'm going to duplicate the base just so I can make this white layer background go all the way out to the edge. And so now this is one whole image with a white border around it as well. So if I take this and I copy it, I can go over into the channels. I started in layers. Now I go over to channels and I make a new file, or I make a new layer, I'm sorry. And then I paste this, okay? And then I'm going to put the little glowing circle dots here. Now it's all lit up, okay? But what's lit up is the white parts, which helps us not at all. Okay, so what we want to do is reverse that. Okay, so now the black line art is lit up. So if I go back over to layers and I make a new one, I go to my, what are you called? Paint dropper thing. And then I just touch anywhere on the image. It's going to, what just happened? Oops, terribly sorry. What did I just do? Yeah, I don't have any. Have I got black on? I got black on. There we are. So now I've got a line art version, like a line art layer. And I can do a couple of those. And I often do two at once. And the reason that I do that is so that I can check on how dark I want it to be. You broke it. Okay, so if I make a new layer again, now I'm just gonna get this out of the way so it's not in the way of us. I can do this, and I'm gonna take my little box tool and I'm gonna stretch it out, and then I'm just gonna take any old random color, preferably a light colored one, and drop it in there. And again, what just went on there? Oh, okay, I see what I did. All right, so paint tool. I need to learn about digital drawing and coloring. Janky fingers hit the enter key. I hear you, Paul. So there's our underneath layer of color now, so that our line art is now translucent. So it goes, it's you can see right through it now. Now I can decide if I want it. See, I don't think I need it to be too solid. I kind of like the thinner lines. And whoops, wrong one. So I'm just going to get rid of this layer and just go with the one. And so there we are. So this is this image ready to rock for us to color now. And I can do things like adding, and close a couple things. No. There we go. So I can do things now like taking a lasso tool. I'm going to make another layer above the base color. And so I can take the lasso tool and I can just pick broad regions of value and use the paint dropper to drop in tones on that, and it sort of presets for me that I'm going to, just starts to just apply color regions to things. Oh, see you in 20 minutes, Chris. Thanks for coming in before. Now you can do this far more specifically, and I'm just doing it really fast and splotchy in order to show you that you can do this quick and dirty, just to get those colors down. Like there's his balloon or the bubble that's on his head, or we can go in and we can color these bones, and you can do much more. You can hold a shift key and scan a whole and circle a whole bunch of different items, and then just paint them all at once. But in this instance, I'm just showing you fast. Actually, the brain is gray. So this is, how I go about dropping colors in the large areas. And so that starts to, so if I take this layer off, okay, there's our undercolor layer. Like if I take that away, you can see I'm just got color in these specific spots. Though I can put a border around this, and choose that this is where like a nice little frame of reference around this. And we'll do that with black line. Whoops. Yeah, janky fingers. I'm turning things off as soon as I turn them on today. So, and then I just use what's called a stroke function. And then if I do that a couple of times, it thickens up that line. So now there's our line art encapsulated within this frame. And I can stretch the line art to be within the confines, but to the edges of that frame of reference. So like, I really should have done this before the bones, but there you go. So if I stretch this over now, like you see how the bone touches the edge of the image, right? If I pull it down, now the bubbles touch the edge of the image. If I pull it over this way, these touch, I can drag that over. And then what I can do is take, run along the frame as a guideline and erase out everything that crops outside of that frame of reference. So there's, glare wasn't letting me see where that thing was. So there's how we tidy up our art. So, go down to that color layer and, that's not too bad. Anyways, so there's the quick, fast, and dirty process. If I take the color out of this now, that we've splotched onto areas, so now you can see this is what the presentation of the artwork is going to be on the page. It's pretty straightforward because it's black line art. If we do the same thing, so let's just save this and move on. So we'll just save this as 146. That's 146 pages that I'm putting together from unposted pages. I'll get there. We're going to add a whole bunch more. That is ridiculous. So, and I just save it as a PDF and I save it as a JPEG. So there's this one. Okay. Now, I don't need to hold on to this page anymore. And I don't need to save the changes from turning it over on the side. This is Photoshop from 2010. I'm sorry, I should have said that. I use a really old Photoshop, and the reason that I do so is that I refuse to pay them a monthly amount of obscene money for what they used to just sell you. And so I keep a hold of copies of what they once just sold available to myself so that I can utilize those and continue doing what I'm doing. 2000, yeah, well, this would be, I think this is the 2005 but I don't know. This is really, 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 really old. And I've been using it like this since it was old when I started using it. And I think I got it in 2015. So it might be the 2005. Yeah, it's CS3. Yeah, that's what this is, CS3. It works great. It does the job. Yeah. Okay, we're going to do the same thing, but this time we've got a light red penciled image, right? So we're going to copy it. We're going to throw it, and this is a portrait format page, and I'll make it a little bit bigger so that I'm not making everybody crazy squinting. So we've put our new scanned image on here. I'm just going to stretch it out instead of zooming it up. I'll just stretch it. Stretch. And then I'm going to do the same thing with putting, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. I move this down. And then I'm only going to stretch up this crazy business. So I want to keep that circular shape. Circular. Okay, so there's our image. I'm going to duplicate the base layer. Whoopsie daisy. And then we'll just flatten this into one layer. So now the white border goes all the way to the outside edge, like we did last time, right? Brace yourselves. So we're going to copy it, and then I'm going to put it into the channels, open up a new layer. I'm going to paste what we copied. You can see it's like this light gray tone. We're going to load a channel as a selection. I'm going to invert that. So now it's just focusing on the line art instead of the white background. We're going to add a new layer here. Take our black. Actually, you know what? This time we're going to do white. Woo! And we're going to do a couple different colors. And I'm going to add another one, and we're going to do a really light yellow. And I'm going to add another one, and we're going to do really bright yellow. Okay. Why are you doing that, Chris? Man, am I glad you asked me that because of this. All right, so we are going to put a new layer up now. And on our layer, we're going to pick a really dark charcoaly color. And so playing with all of these little layers on top. Let's try blue. What happened? There we go. So I'm trying to make an explosion of light and value. And so by putting our line art in yellow to give these cascading rays would be one way to do that. I'm going to go back to our third layer. I'm going to do a fourth one, and just because I'm going to put a black line art one. Okay, so then now we're going to add our extra layer underneath. Get rid of this crazy kid. And then here we'll put our whole thing as a blue line art, or blue color in behind. So the reason I did that is that, so now I can pick and choose, right? If I take the black line art, it's brighter. Now, if I take out the orange one, or I'm sorry, that's the bright yellow, that's the cream yellow, and that's the white. So you can see that trying out different, I mean, I can duplicate layers as well, and they'll enhance, because there's two layers of that color now, they'll enhance it brighter. So this is the haphazard way by which I'll color things. So let's do one more layer underneath, and I'm going to take I'm sorry, my system's clearly taxing because of too many things open. That's just brace with me. So I'm going to go to the pencil layer, and I'm going to put on, one of these many brushes that you get with the Photoshop, and I'm going to make it really big. Why did you just? I think my Photoshop just crashed. See, too much stuff open at once. Okay, we'll try it again. Maybe I'll take the share layer off, and we'll just switch the camera to the overhead. So bear with me a second. Okay, so Photoshop's opening back up. This will probably make our lives a little bit easier. So you can still see everything that's on the screen, but now I don't have to deal with this whole inundating the computer with trying to process too many screens. So with all of these different, so we've scanned and changed up this one, and then we've already got a result from that. So if I go into our file now, and I can open that up, and so this page is ready for us to do something with it now. Yeah, so there we go, right? And I can open up the colors and things that we did there. So we've got something to start with. Let's see if I didn't lose what we were just doing. Yeah, we did. That's okay. All right. So we've got the two different initial formats. We can do the landscape. We can do the portrait. And then we can go through all of our scans. Boink, and then pick and choose which one. So I showed you what I was doing with the sky pattern in the background. Why don't I show you another random thing? Here's a page out of my sketchbook. Okay, and I'm going to rotate this. Now, this is a drawing of a bunch of characters. And the whole purpose of drawing this bunch of characters is to utilize in a page. So I'm going to the lasso tool, and I'm going to cut them out of my sketchbook and copy them. And we're going to throw them on this page here. Now, I can change their size, make them a little bit bigger. Look at us, we're running. And then here's a bit of fun. I can flip them. So now they're running left to right, from right to left. And so if I want to, you know, I can come in, take out that whole background, you know, turn that to white, start dropping in white into these areas here, because the pages substantially yellowed compared to the white cardstock stock that I regularly use. So we're just cleaning up our image. Now there's some little areas I can leave the yellow in there because who cares? It works like shadow now. So we're going to do the same thing. So now this sucker's all ready to rock. We'll turn them into line art. And then we can use them for a page. So if I scan a bunch of things, oftentimes I will go through and I will convert these things to line art so that I can use them. You know, but I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to use them as. So I'll just drop color in behind so you can see that we've made them line art now. So there, we've got the color in behind the guys again. So so now I can color these guys or do whatever I want with these guys, or I can utilize some of the other things which I've scanned, like, let me see what I got farting around. Just look for something fatty. I saw something there. Where is it? There it is. All right. So this is a PNG file, which means it is see-through. So I can copy this bad boy. Whoops. Put it onto this image, right? And then drag it up so that it fits in behind our characters. This contextually, this image doesn't, these things don't work together, but so I've got this scanned page from a book in behind them now. And then if I take my paintbrush and I go on another layer in behind these guys and I paint in a base, you can do it this way, or you can take your lasso tool and just follow the outside line. Just do a big section here. How's that? And just paint drop it in and fill it in. So now you can see how the people that we've got running. Oh, see you later, Paul. Thanks for stopping in. So, so now you can see how these guys sit out off the background. And so if we color them in, and now we can use that in our next drawing. So in our next page that we're working on. So one of the things, I'll show you something fun. This is, so these pages, this is how I've done these. Here's one. So in this context, I've got the dancers in the foreground, the white area in behind them. There's our background. There's that color behind that. So assembling it like this lets me take random scan drawings that I've done in another piece of paper or something like that and lay it over top of a background area. So in this case, it's an alleyway. And so this is part of the musical number of the running fool, you know, doing his little dances. And so in the next page, what's going to happen is, just give me a sec, I'll open these. So what's going to happen over the next page is all of these ladies are going to come out and get involved, and it'll be a whole dance number. Whatever reason I've decided that that's what it's going to be. And so with this page, this is me testing out, how do I have him invite the ladies to come on out? Hey, you over here. Hey, you over there. Hey, come on out. But the backgrounds don't work for me. So, I mean, it needs to be a large static image, really, or three specific scenarios that are happening in these confines. So, but with all of the dancers that you see here, and they're all scanned and turned into line art, I can cut them out, and I'll show you. So I can take this character that I call the running fool. I can copy him, and then we'll go over to all of these guys, and I can throw him on top of that, right? Oh, I guess it wasn't line art. So, and then I can scale him up to be slightly larger than these guys, and move him into the foreground. So let's put that layer on the top. So if I go and I cut out all of the detritus around him, I'll just do a sloppy quick example of that. This is all on one layer, and ideally I want it to be, whoops. There we go. So, so now these people are all running around while he's, dancing a jig. It just, So this is a way for assembling things that lets you take disparate elements that you have that really might not be considered contextually with one another, and you can place them in the same scenario. Like if I go back to these scan pages and I look at some of the things that I have scanned, and let's see what we can find. Something silly. Here we go. Okay. Yes, Corbin. Corbin's tapping my shoulder. So here is just an engine out of my sketchbook. So if I cut this out, and again, when we go to utilize it, we want to clean up the lines from things that are overlapping or whatever, if I've drawn over it already like a silly person. If we go back to our page, we can drop the engine in, which makes no sense in this context, right? But for, instead of having them running around in front of this background, we can now take the engine, and here's our background. Turn it a little bit so it fits our page a little bit better, right? Stretch it out. So, oops, sorry, Corbin. So now this is what's in behind. For whatever reason, we have a big, giant, ridiculous bunch of parts of things. And, I'll drop it down so you can see all of our people on top now. There's that dancing goofball. So, again, taking whatever things, and this is just a cutout of a random image off of a page in the sketchbook. So you don't throw away your pictures, in whatever you're drawing. Like we could have this giant caricature here. We'll copy him and we'll throw him in behind, right? And then we'll make him fit. So now everybody is running from a giant lizard monster in the background, and we'll move him along in here. Let's condense him so he fits in there a little better. We can even flip them. Let's flip them around. Maybe that'll make a little more sense. Yeah, sense. All right, so here's the giant lizard monster now as their background. We'll take the dancing maniac out. So now everybody's running because there's giant lizard monsters. So now, we've got a whole different. So my point is that all these different elements you have in your sketchbook, or you've scanned from pages, like this is me still doing this. This is just for whatever I rolled one of the dice and it said sports games, and so I started drawing sports people with a marker. And here's bits of a page for something that I made. I don't know what it was for. I really don't. It's just doodling. So, you got anything else? Not really. So, don't throw anything away. Don't throw away your images, because maybe you can utilize those together in some other context. And if you draw enough of that, hey, Juju, noon EST. So if you're Central, it would be an hour earlier. If you're California, it'd be 3 hours earlier. Arizona, 2 hours earlier, I think it is. That's just for North America. If you're in, if I start at noon here in Ireland at 6 p.m., that's about the extent of the time zones in my head right now. So, okay, so we've got all of these different layers that, we can craft something with. Like what if we want to put the city scene in the background behind the lizard monster, right? And we'll move our lizard monster down. Okay, so now in behind the lizard monster, we'll be able to put the tops of these buildings. So if we, cut out, give me a sec. Trying to think of ones on, yeah, I'll put this on top. Look, so now if we cut out all of the extra, so that you can see the monster in the foreground. And we take out the other stuff. So now we can start even incorporating all of these little bits of business. Am I going to get any of the 12 CST? Oh, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're getting it now. It's pretty yuck out. So this is how we can take our, the different elements and incorporate those so that, we can utilize those in a larger context. Yeah, so now the buildings are peeking through, and it lets us really play around with the pictures that we're using and how we can assemble those together. It's just fun. It's just fun. So there we are. That's some of the things that you can do with all of these random scans that you have, and make of them, whatever you will. I'm going to. I'm just saving this. Leave all those other things on there. Maybe I'll do something with them. Probably not. I don't know. That's the whole point. Have fun. So these different random things that are scanned can now be incorporated for other purposes, like whether it's one-page stories or if it's for elements to introduce into a large story that you're working on. And, I need, people running in the background of something, or do I have any random drawings of that kicking around? Like I'll show you one thing I scanned because, I saw, pardon me, I saw a number of a little video of a character walking around with his trousers around his ankles, and I just thought, that's, why is that poor guy doing that? But then I thought, so I'm going to flip this image around. So now I've got these three drawings that are on this page. Wednesday's 8 p.m. Have a great day, Salty. So now I've got these three images of this character in our foreground, stumbling about, trying to keep his kid on. And I can cut these guys out like I've done with the other these guys and these guys, and I can cut these images out of him and insert him into something now. Or cut this face in and put the face into a panel, or here's a car, and sure, I write and draw over things all the time in my sketchbook. It's just because it's idea generator to me. It's not so much that it's precious finished things, but there are things that I can take out of it, right? But this is just ways and means for me to draw stuff and not have to do so oriented to purpose. But it's not to say that it can't be used to purpose. Like here's a guy standing here over top of this scene, and it kind of looks like contextually he's in the scene. That's kind of fun. It's like, this is a bunch of drawings of random things with red markers that can be turned into something. Chris says your sketchbooks are awesome. Oh, Liz says I'm tricky. So these random doodles and things. So there's that one page that I just showed on the screen. And here's characters. Here's a lady, and I've got this many pages left in this book. So all of this random stuff we can find some kind of purpose with. Now I showed the skeleton and the brain and the person with the bubble head. I'm trying to think of where I had that in this book, but I picked it out of there. See, there's the guy with the bubble on his head. There's the skeleton. There's that one element incorporated onto the page, right? I don't know where I got the brain from, but probably another page in here. But all of those things came together to make that one composition. So one more thing. But wait, there's more. So, okay, let's clear out some of these things. And no, I don't need to do anything with that. So, like here, this is the one. So that in and of itself is this composition here can be turned into something. And just is something on the idea of speaking towards people and the differences between people and how they've all got different emotions and things. And when you cut it like so, and you can work your text throughout the thing, now we can speak to an idea that we have about others in the public, other individuals. So I'm just closing a bunch of these open files, and then the thing I showed you about the dancers and the dance number that I'm drawing for the end of the stream book that is going to be the second release for this year. And so this will have this dance number in it. And yeah, we use those people. That's fine. That's saved now. Okay, so one more thing to show you in the stuff that we've scanned are these 3 pages here. Well, it's actually 2 pages that I've just scanned different ways. Okay, so with these images, this is another way of studying composition. First and foremost, here's a guy eating a hot dog. Why? Well, just to draw a guy eating a hot dog. There's no big rhyme or reason or grand notion of that. So here we go. We're going to copy him. We're going to throw him on there. So now here's our big image of a dude eating a hot dog. And we can turn that into line art and color it and so on and so forth. But for the time being, it's just out of our way. All right. So let me get rid of the dance number. Don't need that. And so there's our first thing we did. Okay. So all of these small images, all of these small rectangular shapes are studies. It's just studying other compositions that people have utilized in whatever regard, or it's looking at, let me see if I can find it. I will often search up images like this. And this is just a bunch of pictures from the magic of the interwebs. And so these little tiny thumbnails, right? I'll just draw these, just as these quick studies. And so what that allows me is to understand framing and things like that. Let's turn our image counterclockwise. So now you can see all of these panels that are in here. This is what this is drawing little random pictures like this. And that helps me to, generate X amount of compositional arrangements that I might want to try. There's a bunch more on the page across from the one I just showed you. That, if you've studied the drawings that are in the background, well, this lady can be used I can do a couple things with this lady. I can copy her and then copy her legs and scale her legs to fit her and use her in an image. I can take this truck that is, and throw it into an image, make it much bigger, and it's like a truck exploding in a background, right? Or being thrown through the air, or have people sitting on top of it going, well, this is a different way to get to Toledo. There's a million different things that we can try out. Here's yet more of these small panel compositions. This is on the same page as the hot dog guy. So, there's a movie called The Dark Backward that just looks completely bonkers to me. So I drew the poster from that. And as I'm flipping through, watching the trailer of this thing, I started to draw little compositions while watching that trailer. And maybe there's some sort of story. I might, do a story about this really eccentric film. But you're taking things like the different parts of people, and if you've got an arm that you've drawn on somebody and you're like, that arm's wrong, you can find another arm that you've drawn someplace else and lay that over top. I tend not to do that, but people can do that. I mean, it makes it available to them. So with the pages that I do, let's see. So there's a whole bunch of these, and I'll just open a couple of these up. Let's see. Yeah, that too. Okay, so I'll open these three up. These are things that I've scanned that I started to color. And the three scientists or people in hazmat suits are not from the same picture as the background, and that's not from the same picture as the truck. These are three different elements, and then this picture of the building is again from someplace else in a sketchbook. And so scanning all of these different elements out of a sketchbook. Let's see if I can find any of this. But scanning these different elements out of a sketchbook and then assembling them into something that is usable. I don't know if this is even from the sketchbook or just on a random piece of paper. Well, I don't know. I'm already overwhelmed with all this junk. But again, this is an instance of putting together a composition. And whereas this is a straight page drawn on cardstock. So there's no assembling of things here other than I think I made the planet bigger. And then the borders that are drawn on here, I would go over those digitally and make nicer, cleaner borders, and then delete the errata that's in between them, clean the page up. This is another page I started putting some color to, but there's the line art. So this page was drawn like this in pencil of all these, again, random things. There is no pre-planned story here. It's just stuff that I'm drawing as I'm drawing. And for whatever reason, these things pop in my head. So then I start coloring layers. The background layer is just, one static color. And then I can start putting some colors over top, blocking some colors in on areas. Like you see the light that's now shining on the spotlight behind this character. And on a layer above that, I can start coloring the character. And so that I can get this effect behind them. And then, but have a different, like the light shining on the character, and to do that on this layer so that, it's separate. Or the same thing with the wheels here, and putting this foreground, putting this rocky foreground in there as well. here's the lady and the haloing effect going on with her, or the lizards starting to get colored in. Just taking these scans and trying to figure out how to go about coloring our story and trying different things out with all of these sketches and doodles and whatever else that we've drawn, and how we can utilize all of this together is what I think it's a way of exploring storytelling. It's like you've taken all of the base matter that you've produced, and now you're going to assemble that base matter into something of purpose. And you can really take that. You can really start to explore some ideas with this, and you can really start to oh, I'm glad you can see better now, this. You can really take this and to start to aid you in your process of having something to say. So that's, I don't know, I just wanted to show people this today. I just thought that somebody might find this of interest. Now, I've scanned, and we've put this as a line art layer. I mean, this is the first thing that we did. We could try to finish this, or, I mean, let me close some of all these things I got open. We don't need all these pages. So this is me, again, the reason it's this flat blue color in the background is that that's me starting to color all these things. That's what you're seeing there. So, I mean, we can take this, or we can do, let me open up. Okay, I know what I'll do. Bear with me, folks. You've been doing really good so far. Okay, we'll do this one. Now, this image is water from water, right? So day 2. So we're going to copy that. We're going to put it on here. Hot dog man, look out. So we're going to put this on here. We're going to scale it up to fit the page better, like so. Actually, why don't we just, there we go. So here's our water from water image. And then we'll just come in with the white and drop that in around there. So now the whole thing is a flat white background image. So we'll do our copying. We'll switch over to channels. We'll make a new layer. We'll paste up our scan. We'll turn that into just the lines that are highlighted. Go to the black, and then make a new layer. So now we've got line art, and we can do this a couple of times just because it's so light, right? But there's our line art now. So we've got that together. I'm going to delete this. So there's our original drawing. There's our line art now. And what we can do is add a layer in between, go in behind, and drop our color. So big, bright blue. Liz says, I'm trying to make a scene where eyes are showing through thick window blinds out into a fire and rhinestone landscape. When you know what you want doing, it's another thing. You don't find many images where eyes are facing. In my favorite scale to scene. Well, so in a thing like Photoshop, if I've got, well, let's use hot dog guy, right? So we've got our hot dog guy. Well, the wonderful thing about it is that we can scale our hot dog guy to whatever it is that we want him to be. So in the case of if I just copy his eyes or his face, let's just do the face part, okay? Eating a hot dog. And I copy this. And then I'm going to paste it up over top. So we don't need this background part because we've just got hot dog face. If I'm going to turn that into line art, I can make it whatever size I want it to be and layer it over top of the water from water image. It's, for what context that is, I don't know. This is some of the Sunday drawings that I do. I don't know how many people I've shown this, and if this is so on Sundays, I draw the sermons with whatever tools I have in my pockets. Are you ready? Ready? Mountain, volcano, mountain, volcano. Anyways, so Sinai, Zion. So this is what I do. Is that I draw in my book while the sermons are going on. And so, you can take whatever scans and ideas and images and start to interpret things in your own way. Like I can scan this, and I've done this numerous times with images from here, and I do finished pages out of them. But in that case, it's really just putting it in context of the page. But in the one drawing that I showed, maybe I didn't, maybe did not, I'm not sure. We'll find it. Just a sec, sorry. Yeah, this one right here, okay? I did, I scanned these. Where is this? Oh yeah, right. Forgot where I was for a second there. So these are scanned pages that I've turned into, and we're gonna put this out as a book as well. If anybody is interested, just put that on Amazon as well. And I don't know. And I've okay. So here's one. You can see this is a page that you saw in the book, and then I scanned it and turned it into a finished page. And I'll do that. I'm trying to see where I did a composition with all of the people. Yeah, no, it's not there. And there it is. This is it. So I took those people and I made them statues in this Hall of Faith for this project. And so you can scale them and utilize them in whatever different ways that you need them. And there's so much versatility we can get out of the things that we have. But if you have a program like Photoshop, or I believe Chris said that she uses Procreate, which I'm not familiar with. I've heard of it, but I've never tried it. But if you can take these different programs and you can use those, you can take those and do the things that you want to have with your image, so that if you want to have your eyes appearing in through window blinds, like I'm thinking you mean like they're reflected in the glass. Is that? Chris says I do for iPad only. Very similar. Excellent. Is that what you meant, Liz? With the eyes are reflected in the window as they're looking out at a fire and brimstone landscape? Because that's how you could do that. I did a book. Let me see if I've got it. I didn't do reflections, but in this book that I illustrated, there's something crazy going on in the back field of their farm. My eyes are huge. And so there's something going on in the back farm. Dog's already looking out the window. He's standing at the front door, goes around to the back door, and then I just have them looking out the window. here they are hiding behind a table, and as they get up to look out the kitchen window, I just got them peeking through it, as opposed to having it as a closed thing. And then there they are again. So, and they decide, let's go out, open the door, out into the light they go, and then I contextualize it to the environment. Like here they are standing in there, but no reflections. So I can't really necessarily speak to that. I would just draw the eyes as an overlay, I guess. Or I would actually just draw multiple panels for it. Exactly what I need to see. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, good. There we go. So let's go back to this. So now that we got this cooking, we can go in and we can start to take the parts of our image and switch things up a little bit, and start to work on the coloring process of it and dropping values in, and then start picking out aspects of it. And I'm generally just going like this, throw another layer on top, and then I'll start drop that out. So I'll just take a brush tool and cut the opacity of it down so that, and then I can just start coming in, and on a layer up above, I can start adding in some of these elements to make it like the waters are being separated and start to paint water. You have every direction in so many images, it's crazy. Well, so there's so many things in this, this wonder of creation that in my head, I just want to try to explore it. And maybe there's not enough time really to tell enough stories about so many different things. When you see a creator who does one thing and one thing only for X amount of time, and I don't disparage them at all. The lady from Ottawa who did For Better, For Worse, periodical cartoons, those are wonderful. I couldn't do that. I just couldn't. I'm not made up that way. I, would become a little bit sedate and bored doing, and now there's so many different stories you can explore with those characters. But myself personally, I need more stories to explore. Chris says, you had a book of face expressions that was very handy. Let me see if I can find that. I had that out for a reason. Here it is. I found this. This is something that will help people. This is great. So this is something, and this is what Chris was just speaking to, Liz. A book like this, this fellow Mark Simon has just sat down with all of these different people. And the skulls, and if you want to understand that and see how it's utilized. But now, so here's all these different expressions and different perspectives on this young lady. Okay. There's another fella here. The following list of emotions is used to inspire the models. And so you can see these different people exploring these different things. And so what that can give you is the opportunity to understand the basic structure of a person's face, but then you can start to see some of these other emotions. And well, I want it on this angle. Well, maybe you're lucky enough that that's done. And then you can see how some people have utilized those. This is from the 1990s. This is not a recent thing. So the fashions and And some of the characterizations they're a little bit out of date, but like the hairstyles are, it's universal with some, and then others like the feathered hair that's gone, or the 1990s wispy hair is not so prevalent. But you can see by being able to study all these different types of faces at different ages, because the ages are going up as we go through here. And so let's go, now we're going to jump into another decade. So now we're in our 30s, or the people are in their 30s, late 30s. I think that's Mark Simon. This is the guy who did the book. Isn't that cute? So now we're into our 40s. Now we're up into the 50s, and so you can see the different structures of the face. And that if you look at this gentleman's face here with the lines under their eyes and the receding hairline, and if you go all the way back to this young man here, substantially different structures that are going on there. You can see how underneath the eyes, even though he has a dark complexion and this lovely shadowing with his eyes, there's not the character lines in here. There's not those age lines that we develop as we're getting older. So, late 60s, I think we go into the 70s here, and again, there's so many different expressions that you're going to get because of the character that develops in the face. And it's like a face goes from this sort of blank, really young, it's like a smooth feature. And then as we go through life, we start to develop that personage that we are, and the experiences that we've had, and we wear those. But something like this, I'll hold that up for anybody that wants to snap that. That's a good idea to look up. There's books on perspective. There's books on a great deal of things that can be beneficial for people trying to find those. But we live in the age of the interweb. And in the age of the magical interweb, you can look up something like this. What does it look like? A guy smacking himself in the face going, I can't believe I ate the whole thing in the mirror, And you can find a little thumbnail of that on the interweb. And you can utilize that in whatever context that you need it. So don't necessarily need to go out and buy these books anymore. If you, you want to do a serious study on a character that looks a specific way that you're going to put repeatedly in a project, and especially in like a sequential book where you're drawing, Harvey Kowalnichuk, and he's gonna go through this entire adventure and be drawn numerous times with numerous expressions. Having something like this or its digital counterpart would be of great benefit. So, but like I say, don't be afraid to grab your sketchbook and to study that and to explore that. So I've got 6 sketchbooks on the go. I've shown you 2 of them already. Here's another one. This is me again studying larger compositions and story ideas and movement. And so I was trying not to draw over top of all my own things as much with this book. But this is, again, studying expressions and faces and page layouts and story layouts. And in the middle of all of each one of these things, I'm trying to put a story, a little small story I could illustrate. Objects, doodads, space story, right? More space story. Here's more little compositions. So this is the next sketchbook I'm going to be working on, which I already am. So, do I use a stylus? My fingers are so rough. Is that for drawing digitally, you mean? This is, so what we have here, and I'll turn on the Zoom for Monday and show people the size of this. This is a surface that is 3 feet by 3 feet. Is that right? No, 2 feet by 2 feet. I think it is 24 inches by 24. Hold on. I'll tell you exactly how big it is. This is, yeah, 2 feet by 2 feet, or 24 inches by 24 inches, or 61 inches by, or 61 centimeters by 61 centimeters for those that use the other system, as a large surface. And over top of that is a sheet of, let's see if I can get it in frame, a sheet of plastic, so that it's all one flat surface. But what it actually is a 18-inch by 12 or by 14-inch monitor that I've built this case that it sits in the center of, flat, flush with the surface, the wooden surface of the that's around it. And then with the sheet of plexiglass laid over top, it's all now one flat surface. But I can take a stylus and draw on this. So this isn't an iPad or anything like that. This is actually a digital drawing monitor. And it comes, this is a Huon, and it comes with its own pen, and I can switch out all the nibs when I wear them down. And it has buttons so that I can switch from pencil to eraser, which I never use. And I'd sooner tap it, I don't know why. And so I can draw on this whole screen with this, you know, and use this and so that I can make the images that I do. And so, you know, when I'm coloring stuff, this just, I can adjust how opaque it is. Like, you know, if your mark, so that's at 32%, that's the same thing at 100%. So there's different things that we can do with the marks that we make. But if you're able to, for whatever device that you utilize, look up and see. Chris, I believe, has an iPad pen or an Apple pen for her iPad. Is that what you have? You have a tablet? Or whatever tablet you have, you can buy a corresponding pen for. And then if, you know, some people's phones have pens. I have a phone here that has a pen built into it. And then this draws on the screen and sits inside. Right? So that I can draw right on here and do nothing with. But I also use the same surface. And the reason I have this laid out the way that I do, you have a digital brush and stylus. So yeah, so there's your stylus. So what you can do is you can go into your pencil or pen settings, change the size of things, like the size of the marks that you make and the textures of the mark you make, if you have different ones to use, and give you more control if you're having a hard time with it. Because, yeah, the digital brush, the stylus there, you can go into the program's settings and change how that's working with this. So that if you feel that this is clumsy, maybe you need to refine it in the program. So that, yeah, the bristles are made for the iPad screen. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so there you go. There's all kinds of different brushes that you can buy for things, or you can find free online. I'll show you some of the things I like doing. I'll just show you a couple of random brushes here. This is, if I want to be typically silly like I am, I can make a layer here and This is a pattern, like a couch pattern. Or let's find another one that's a little more extreme. How's this one? So if I go back here, and that's a water pattern. Now, I draw the same thing, but if I wanted to use that, and I can make the opacity of it 100%. So now it literally looks like water. And you can utilize that in your drawings if you don't want to do what I do, and that is draw the water yourself. Because in this case, it's water being yanked up into the air. And, the water from the air falling down into the water below. So, yeah, I wasn't going to get that out of one of these brushes. But that's called a brush, even though what it really is an image. But you can use it to draw with, which is a little bit random. But you can do that. And if you change the size of it, so let's make another layer and reduce this one down. So if I change the size of it substantially, so now it's only this big, now I can use this picture and draw with that. I don't see the benefit of that, but there's things that you can do with stuff that makes it interesting. I'm a big proponent of doing basically, it's like taking zipatone patterns, and that's a Day-Glo dot system, and putting it into things, right? Just to add a little bit to it. And so if I take this and change the scale of it so that the dots are more separated, now I've got this underlying dotting pattern in the drawing. So Chris says those brushes are so good for texture. It's like using a physical stencil. Oh yeah, for sure. But the thing about this that I like is that I can come in with an eraser now, and I'll cut the opacity down, and then I can do this. Here, let's kick it up a little more, and I can start cutting out some of the Day-Glo dots and letting the blue come through and getting that effect. So it's not even just about drawing. It's not about adding marks to it. It's about subtracting things from your compositions as well. That's handy dandy. That says, what is your style of art called? Crazy. I don't know. Mixed media is what I've always said. Yeah, I don't know. Because I'm so all over the place, I'm hard pressed to define myself too easily. I'm not entirely sure myself. If we look at the last so many days, and this is the last 4 days, 5 days. And so we've got, just opening these suckers up. So this is marker, line art. This is painted in acrylic. This is drawn in charcoal with ink. This is, I'm sorry, is charcoal. This page. This one is done with markers and ink. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what mixed media is the easiest way to say it, because they work with so much different stuff. This is an ink drawing with digital coloring on it. You can see the Day-Glo dots in there. Hopefully. This says, I enjoyed your chats with other artists. Question and answer video about me. I don't. I've been interviewed by other people, but I just wrote a response. Somebody wrote me a really nice letter about discovering my work online. And I wrote a response to that, which really covers all of what you're talking about. But for whatever reason, it wouldn't let me email them in the response. So why they asked me to tell them about my process, I don't know. But I'm going to get back to having people in the studio. So we have in our office studio that, because Lori has part of the old studio that I used to have my library area in. Well, Lori's desk and filing cabinet and things like that are in the other half. But at the same time, we have 2 wingback chairs set up so that we'll be doing talks, and I'll have friends come over and visit, and we'll do a video where we're talking and doing an interview about their work and their process. And then I can put images up on the screen. So if I'm there and they're there and we're talking, I can put video, like images up during the conversation about their work. And then we can do the same thing where Lori and I are talking about whatever books we're reading, and then we can put the covers of the books on the screen in the middle. So that's something that we're working on doing now that I'm back. So we'll be doing that again. And maybe I'll sit in this chair and Corbin will sit in that chair. I don't know. So yeah, so we've got a whole bunch of stuff planned. But I'm going to set up again through StreamYard here opportunities to talk one-on-one with other creators about what they're working on. And, so that we can introduce other people to them. So that, it's a big wide world out there. And we have this cultish thing that goes on where everybody masses on one person or another, and to the point that they miss out on other people doing similar things in very different ways. Like, why do that to ourselves? Chris says, I gotta go. Clay Mosley showed interesting things today. Oh, that's great. I'm glad you liked it. Normally I never show interesting things. Anyway, I'm being silly. So we're going to do that again as well. So where I can talk to people and interview them about whatever their projects are, and then try to flip screens so that they can share a screen to show what it is that they're doing. We got people like, I don't know, maybe Chris Clear over here to join us, and collaboration screens or videos are so much fun. They really are. And get Liz on there one day, and this will be and Mama and anybody else that's come and joined us today. But why not? We're all doing different things. A friend of mine got themselves on this cult of personality about this one person who does printing. And what I mean by that is this person had on a regular basis about 200 people tuning in every week as they talk about, we're going to do a print of this. And then I noticed that they've been going for like 4. So I said, you should check them out. And I came to look at it, and I go, okay, cool. That's very neat. It's an interesting way to watch their process. And what other sort of stuff do they do? And because they've been going for 4 years, and as you scan back through the 4 years, you realize it's the same thing again and again and again. And I could be guilty of that because I'm doing storytelling pages. That's why I try to break it up with, talking about painting or trying different mediums or trying different formats and things like that to try to shake it up. But they're literally doing the same process of printing. They cut out their image and then they stamp it on here, and there's a lot of the same things over and over again. And so I tried to say, well, there's a couple of printers that I saw on here, and they're fantastically varied, and their approaches to how they do things, and including using China markers and wax markers in their prints and graphite and and using different tools like sharps like this. This is just a piece of plastic with different edges to it, so you can make different marks and things, and Ranger ink, and using things like that. And he's like, I've never seen anything like that. I've been watching this person for years. I'm like, but that's why we we want to introduce everybody to the wide range of creative expression, because then everybody isn't this person, right? Because all the people that watch that'll emulate just that, and then not allow themselves to go back and draw into themselves from what other smatterings they get in their experience. So I'm a big advocate of that. So that's why I like having people on, because there's other creators that are telling stories as well, that are doing it in very different ways than I do, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I think it's that was really mind opening. Like I've got these that I'm going to be doing again, and bear with me a second. It takes me a little bit more to move right now. I'll show a couple things. Well, I better not do this. I'm going to be doing some videos on these. This is Jack Kirby. This is reproductions of the original art that Jack Kirby did, illustrating Fantastic Four books in the 1960s. See the dot pattern in there? I really like that, so I put that on my sketchbook. But he would allow himself to shake it up. He was doing collages and comics in the 1960s before anybody else had even considered it. And here he is doing that. Crazy stuff, just absolutely fantastic experimental stuff. But this is the guy who is responsible for inventing the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Thor, the entirety of the Thor pantheon of characters as well, Doctor Doom, Galactus, Captain America, the Avengers, same guy, Jack Kirby. And he doesn't get any credit, so I'll give him to Stan Lee. Terrible. Now, this is Wally Wood doing stories for EC Comics in the 1940s and 50s. Very different approach. Lots of different little bits of paste ups that are in here. That's what the grading is, and the zipitones, which Jack didn't use. The text is really formulaic, and yet there's so many interesting and compelling things about how he did his work. And again, another genius in an industry. But comics aren't just black and white. This is Bill Sienkiewicz, and I've shown this before. This book is so big. This is 12 by 4. This is 14 by 16. This book. So Sienkiewicz's work, he's got paint. He's got zipatone with ink wash over top. He's got just what a different way to illustrate superhero characters. What a different way to illustrate comic pages. Look at this repetitive pattern he's got in here for this girl's having a dream about this monstrous bear attacking her. He's decided to draw on a grid and to draw the bear in the grid. I mean, again, this is very different approaches to the work. Here he is drawing Moon Knight. Crazy inking techniques, very splashes, very influenced by Neil Adams. Here he is with lots of ink spatter on the page. That's taking a toothbrush and doing this with ink on it. So even in amongst this community and world of sequential storytelling, there's so many varied approaches to it. So how you doing, Seven? I get a lot of your videos. I don't know. I get a lot of your videos. I'm at the I don't know what I don't know until I see you do art. Oh, well, we're all in that case. Pokemon designs? It's very interesting. Well, here's a fun thing. Hi, Seven. Yeah, the dream one's wild. Here's a piece of paper. Okay, here's a fun experiment to try. Okay, when it comes to character design, 3 shapes. Now, I often tell people that you can draw anything with these 3 shapes. If you close your eyes for a second and then open them up and look around the space that you're in, you'll realize that all the things that we have around us are made out of these 3 shapes. You know, the clock on the wall, you know, it might have some depth to it, you know, but it's still roughly just circle within circle, right? The table that you might be sitting at is just a bunch of squares laid out one over the next, stretched out squares for the legs, but it's still right. So, anyways, character design tells us a couple of things. Here's Henry. You know, Henry is pretty sedate in his life, and you know, he's a little rotund. He could be in better shape and be doing things. And then this is Rocco. Rocco's a big muscular guy who's got you know, this broad shape to him, this sort of heavy set, reliable, strong guy thing. And then over here is this guy, you know, Spliff. Spliff's a bad guy. You know, he's a little dangerous. But by using 3 different shapes, we can start to develop. This is tension, right? This is solid, and this is soft. So when you see characters designed and you've got like a little character who's got this rotund shape and this little furry tail coming out of him, that character is more approachable than, you know, this type of thing is more approachable than this type of person. You know, so if you've got, I'm trying to think of okay, so if we've got this crab-like character with pincers, right, and its arms coming out and little legs off of it, and the mean old face right here at the front, right, that underlying hidden shape in there tells us that this is more confrontational than this because of these sharp angular shapes. So when it comes to drawing Pokemon or any kind of characterization, these 3 shapes come into play. Does that help? It's the same thing here. Look at this character. There's soft movements, okay? She's got some weight to her form. Her body is a lot of round action. So she's moving, but she's not moving as fast as this guy with his shapes. That you get the impression that he's chopping at it, where she's moving at her own speed, right? You can do that with physical bodies too. Look at this rigid square shape here. As this person's moving, she's got this round motion. He's got this angular motion. He's got this. These 2 here have this more sedate motion. These 2, and this person are all moving at different speeds. And it's the same principle as this. It's the same principle as that, right? It's just really extended out. So I don't know if that helps, but yeah. All right. Well, I think I'll wrap up today, and I'll finish this or this. How's that for posting? I've got to post for tomorrow the page that I drew yesterday. I realized I promised posting 2 pages, and I made myself get behind. So here's the page that we did yesterday with the public shopping poll. We did these marker illustrations of birds on a cardstock piece, and then I'm using them to talk about where do you get your groceries from, and just making a silly bird joke. here's the fancy guy at the end. I only dine on food that I foraged for myself. And chips, so there we go. Silly business. It's always silly business with this guy. Him, me, well, me. I'm pointing at you. You know what I mean? All right. That's it, folks. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming out. I hope everybody's had a good day. Sorry, Seven. I know you just got here and I'm sneaking away. But, yeah. So I will be back on Monday at 12 noon EST. So if you're in central part of the United States, that's 11. If that helps anybody that's in that. Okay. Thanks very much, everybody. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out. And if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions for ideas for stories, or if you have anything you want me to work on, like draw something in pencil crayon, monkey, then let me know, and we'll incorporate that in there. That's it for me for today. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and you and your loved ones are all safe and well. Thanks very much, everybody. I'll see you on Monday. Bye for now. God bless.